Hello and good morning. So today we're going to continue with our Player Imports series, and we're going to be looking at buildings and upgrades within Player Imports. Now I know it's been a little while since I've made a Player Imports video, so I'll probably just cover a few things and reminders of where we're up to and stuff. But as I said before, this bar up in here, there are some really important features. The one we're going to look at today is the upgrade buildings firstly. So this can be a little bit confusing at first, but if you bear with me, we'll get through it. So when you first start out in Player Imports, you don't have anything in here built, and as I siphon through here, you can see there are various different buildings and things that you can upgrade. I will cover them all, so don't worry that I'm just blasting past them. Some are really useful, some, in my opinion, are not particularly useful. I'm just going to cover them all at first, and then we'll talk about which ones to prioritise. So you can see here, the first one is the upgraded bar. Now the bar area is the area where you get the barmaid and all your various captains and people are within that you can go and talk to should you want to. The barmaid gives you a special mission each day, each Wednesday should I say, sorry, and she also gives you random port events, which we'll also cover at some point. But for now, yeah, this is the bar. Now, what the bar can do is give you a % increase to attracting higher captains and adventurers. Now, if you scroll down here, you'll see that they basically have two resource types, and obviously the cheaper the resource type, the earlier it is in the list. So you can see here, for instance, the one I have currently built is a 5% chance of attracting higher quality captains and a 3% bonus chance of attracting adventurers. Now, if you scroll down here, you'll see that they get slightly higher. So, for instance, here, 7% chance of attracting captains with higher combat or morale, plus 5% chance of attracting higher quality captains, 3% bonus chance of attracting adventurers. They all have basically different attractions here. So this one is to attract captains with seafaring or speed stats, and this one is just 5% for both. So to be honest, I probably should have switched here when I've got this refurbished bar. I should actually, because that's a 5% chance of attracting high quality captains and 3%, and I should probably have built this one just because it's 5% and 5%. To be honest, the difference that 2% will make is probably not a lot. The reason I haven't done that is because I have the captains that I want, and therefore I'm not particularly interested in specifically attracting, let's say, seafaring captains. Because obviously if you go to your crew roster here, the captain that you get here, you sometimes get ones that are free, you get ones that are 100 chimes, ones that are 2,500, and the 10k captains, which we've covered before. Obviously if you look here, the 10k captains have one stat that's well over 1,000, so that's my seafaring captain, that's my morale. Is this my combat? No, that's a 2,500 chime captain, because you can see that it only has one stat that's just pushing 1,000. So if you, for instance, had a 10k captain in combat and in seafaring, but you didn't have one in morale, you might want to consider building the bar upgrade that gives you a higher chance of attracting morale-based captains. So the bar basically is just upgrading your percentage of being able to attract the guys that appear in here and in here. So whilst it's kind of useful, it's not something you should prioritise by any means, and you'll obviously find that when you get to the stage that you're trying to get 10k captains, you've probably done a lot of your upgrading on your ships and all that kind of stuff. So I'll move on from the bar. The next one is the office. This is incredibly important. And this is the one slot that you should prioritise generally above anything else all the time. What the office upgrade does is allow you to build more ships. So you start off, I believe, with 2 ships. If I'm honest, I can't actually remember. I think you start with 2 ships. You might even start with 1. When you come into the office upgrades, depending on the cost, it unlocks an additional ship slot. Try saying that without saying the opposite. Yeah, it upgrades an additional ship slot. So you'll be able to get more and more ships. So hence why prioritizing your office upgrades is important. You can see that the last ship slot that I got was jade and cherrywood, which probably means that it came in the 5th region rather than in the last region. But yeah, the office upgrades do nothing other than just allow you to have more ships. So that is something that I would always prioritise and aim for. Because as soon as you get more ships, you can obviously get more distance travelled for your map and more resources. So the next one is the workshop. Now, another thing that you maybe or maybe not may not want to prioritise is the workshop. Basically, when you build the workshop, at first, you get the actual workshop facilities. So what I mean by that is when you first do player imports, you don't have a workshop. It's just an abandoned shack, really. And then once you get the resources, you can build the workshop, which gives you the area where you make your scrimshaws or your player imports armor. But most importantly, in my case, it gives you the bank function. Hence why some players might want to prioritize it above anything else. Because if you particularly, like me, like to use the bank here for kind of Slayer or whatever, I just carry around my my book here pretty much the whole time, and it's kind of like your own personalized bank. So yeah, for 2 reasons you want to get the workshop. The first reason is obviously for the bank function, but that's only in the short term if you want it for Slayer or whatever. The reason you want a workshop in the long term, obviously, is to be able to make your player imports armor. I only have the basic workshop, which allows you to make reward items in your workshop, increases XP earned from workshop skill locations by 5%. Now that doesn't mean that if you skill in here you'll get 5% more XP, which would be lovely if it was, but it doesn't. It means that you get 5% more XP per player imports item that you make. So if you make a scrimshaw here or on the Rocktail Soup's cooking station, and similarly the upgraded version here just gives you increased XP by 10%. So if you make a set of Sea Singer, whatever, I think it's worth quite a bit of XP. I can't remember. I'll tell you in a second when I go and look. But you know, if you had the upgraded workshop, it would just give you a bit more XP. But to be honest, because you're gonna so infrequently make player imports armors, certainly it's not a necessity. As I say, I don't even have it. But I probably should, because, you know, I am making the armours, and I might start making a few scrimshaws and possibly even Rocktail Soups in the future. But yeah, for now I don't have that. I just have the very basic one, which allows you the bank and the XP boost. So again, it's up to you whether you prioritise that. I personally did. Some people can wait quite a little while until you're into the further regions, because you just don't really need it unless you want to bank. Okay, we'll move on. So, lodgings. This is another one that I don't particularly, I haven't prioritised myself. Basically, the one I have built provides a 4% boost to attracting higher quality crew. So when we're up in the crew roster again, down on the right hand side here, this will boost the types that you get. The reason I haven't really prioritised it, because if you build the next one up, provides a 5% boost to attracting crew or higher quality, and additional 2% boost to attract crew with superior speed stats. Now, I don't really think it's worth building for a 1% boost to attracting crew types and a 2% boost to attracting crew with superior speed stats. As I've said before, in my opinion, speed is the least important of the skill sets, and building something that gives you a 1% boost is just not worth it, in my opinion. If you want to do it cosmetically or whatever, or if you think that will make a massive difference to the crew you get, then obviously go ahead and build it. But personally speaking, I kind of think it's a bit of a waste of time. You know, you probably want this one just because it gives you that initial 4% boost. That's probably worth having. Other than that, you know, if you want to build it, sure. But personally, I haven't. So the next one we're on to is the shipwright. Now, this again is another one that it's quite a tricky one to decide what to do with. Basically, the one I have built says boost ship stats by 3% and seafaring by an additional 2%. Okay, now there are quite a few other ones that you can build, right? This one, for instance, boosts ship stats by 3% and combat by additional 2%. and the next one's morale, and then the next one is speed. Now, you might be thinking, well, why have I not boosted one of the other ones? The reason, pardon me, the reason being, if you think about the makeup of your ship, you'll know that obviously there is a hull, which you can get for all 3 stats. The 2 deck pieces, be they cannons or seafaring, morale, or combat, you can build on there. Now the rudder is obviously speed. Now the front of the ship is only combat and morale, and this is one of my sort of bugbears with player imports, because seafaring is very imbalanced with player imports, because the hull for seafaring is the least good of the top 3 hulls, i.e. it has the least boost. If we go and look, I'll show you what I mean. So if we go to a hull here, right, the top 3 hulls are the Blazing Lantern, which gives a plus 1,400 morale. This gives a plus 1,200 seafaring for the Storm Rider, and the Hull of Glory gives a 1,200 plus as well. I've clicked on the wrong one. Let's try that again. Morale 1,400, Combat 1,400, Storm Rider, which is the seafaring one, is only 1,200, so it's not 1,400. So straight off the bat, your best seafaring hull is 200 less than your combat and morale ones, which initially is, I don't think, very fair. And then if you throw into account the fact that you can get a plus 800 in combat or morale boost on the front of your ship, and you can't get that in seafaring, you can probably understand why I personally leave my ship rate to give myself the to give myself the seafaring boost, because I don't really need to give myself an additional 2% boost to any of the other skills, because I get them anyway. So basically what I'm saying is I would advise that you leave your shipwright upgrade on the nautical shipwright, because any way that you can get a slight boost in seafaring without actually having to, for instance, put more seafaring units on, it just balances out the base stats, is I guess what I'm getting at. And if you suddenly find that you're doing combat and morale missions all the time and you never do any seafaring ones, by all means build one of these. Or again, if you think that you're not worried about the excuse me, if you're not worried about the stats being balanced and you want speed, then build the speed. Personally, that's the reason I have the seafaring one built, because player imports in terms of the ships is imbalanced. So anything I can do personally to improve that, I will. Let's move on. And the warehouse, again, this is another one that I haven't really upgraded hugely. Basically, if you read the stats, the one I have built gives a 6% boost to chime rewards. Sorry, that's my phone. A 10% boost to bamboo, slate and gunpowder rewards, and a 5% boost to cherrywood rewards. Now, I could have built the next one up, which gives a 10% boost to bamboo, slate, gunpowder, cherrywood, and a 5% to jade rewards. The reason I didn't is because it was very expensive. As you can see, like 4,000 jade to build that was quite a lot. And when I was in the jade region, I obviously wasn't going to be wanting to spend 4,000 jade on that upgrade. So I've just never really upgraded it. And now I'm to the stage where I don't really need any trade goods, because I've got so much of all of them. And if for any reason I suddenly need gunpowder, then I'll just drop back to the second region and get it. But for me, I kind of think that's an expensive upgrade that, when it was relevant, i.e. when I was trying to get, gunpowder, cherrywood and jade, I just didn't want to be spending that kind of rewards to get, a small boost on the rewards that I got back. Another way of thinking about it is 4,000 jade is what it'll cost you. Do you think you'll stay in the region long enough to get 4,000 jade back from that 5% boost to your jade rewards? Probably not, in all honesty, so that is why I never built it. I did build this one just because it gives you that initial boost to things like chime rewards, which is always useful. But 2,000 cherrywood is a lot different to 4,000 jade, obviously, so that's why I built that one. Again, if you suddenly think that you have a surplus of jade, or you want to be getting it all the time, then maybe it's worth building, but for me, I didn't. Okay, so we'll move on. Now, the totem hotspots. These are really, really important, and this is probably going to be the main focus 14 minutes in. So what these do is there are 3 of them, or is it 4? I can't remember. There are 4 of them around the player owned ports. And basically, if we just look at the first one here, increases the chance of receiving scroll voyages, right? And if you have 1 telescope, it's a 4%, all the way through to 4, it's a 10% chance. So, if you build all 4 of the same totem, you will increase your chance by 10% in whatever the listing is at the top. So, for instance, it could be increase the chance of receiving XP voyages. Now, for me, at the moment, what have I got built? The Jade statue. Now, I've got 4 Jade statues done, and what that does is it increases the chance of receiving trade goods voyages. So, what that means is when you go to your voyage list, your basic voyages, that's a trades good voyage. So don't worry about the special ones, ignore those for a minute. But in terms of why I've built those ones, is if we siphon through here, that's a trades good resource mission. See what else we get. Probably won't get any more now, no my luck. Yeah, so you can see that I had 2 trades good missions. Now, the reason I do that, or why I was doing that, was when I was trying to get my Sea Singer, I was trying to maximise the amount of chi that I was getting, and I just felt that by having those totem upgrades, I was giving myself a better chance of getting just basic trades good missions. Now, the other types of ones that you can get is random events, which I will cover in the next video, resources from a voyage, i.e. just the basic, you know, any resource you get will be a 10% extra, which is possibly worth having, XP voyages, and of course scroll missions. So like I said, for me at the moment, I have all 4 of those Jade statues built, just because it gives you more trades goods, and obviously getting plate and lacquer for me at the moment is quite important, and having those 4 built gives me a 10% chance of getting one of those 5 in my basic missions. Now, say I'd built all my Tetsu and all my Death Lotus and my Sea Singer, I would probably switch these to XP voyages, because that would give me a higher chance of attracting special voyages here that give you XP. And at 25k a pop, that's, you know, it's kind of worth it. I've nearly gone up a runecrafting level just in runecrafting XP from, you know, from special missions, which is really nice. So, but for now, personally, that's the one I have. But they're very, very worthwhile having. They are a little expensive, and I didn't get them till well into the last region. And what I actually did was, when I was in the last region, I bought a load of the new crew, but then I dropped back to the Cherrywood region to get a lot of Cherrywood to build these, and then train up my crew at a lesser region, and then did the same with the Jade, so to give myself enough to do that. What I will probably do soon enough is I will switch these all to XP voyages, and then obviously I'll have to go back and get the resources that I need. It is a little pricey, but it's very, very worthwhile doing, in my opinion. So that's something to bear in mind. As I say, I wouldn't necessarily do it as soon as you can, but I would definitely think about upgrading them once you get into the last region and you're starting to try and get your trades good resources, because it's very, very worth it. And as I say, there are 4 of those. They're sort of cosmetic, and they fit around the map. And then the last 3 things are these icon hotspots. Now, what these do is they basically increase your chance of attracting a particular adventurer. So, as I say, when I was getting Sea Singer, I had all 3 of these, because there are 3 of them, set to the occultist. Obviously, because that was the highest, that's the easiest way of trying to get chi missions. So, if you see here, I've got all 3 set to the occultist. Now that that's done, I've obviously got it. I think I will probably change these to attract one of the other adventurers, and all that does is it just raises, and it doesn't tell you how much, just increase your chance to attract the occultist. So if you have 3 of them built off of the same adventurer, you're obviously going to increase your chance. And I have to say it does work, because not now because I've got the missionary, but you know, a lot of the times I do get the occultist in the port, and that's why I've got so much runecrafting XP from XP missions, because generally I have 4 special missions a day, and the occultist is 9 times out of 10 always there. Wow, just had a massive coughing fit, sorry about that. Yeah, as I was saying, the occultist is 9 times out of 10 always there. So that's the reason I have those upgraded. The final upgrade that you can do is a cosmetic one, and it just changes your portal. So if I go and build this one, just to show you what it is, at the moment it's that. And if we go and upgrade it, it becomes that. So, whoopee. Yeah, it doesn't do anything, it's purely a cosmetic upgrade, but, you know, some people might like that. I don't know if it does the same from the outside, actually. Oh yeah, it does, so it changes your kind of view outside. Anyway, that's gonna be the end of the video there, because I think I've pretty much covered everything in the building upgrades. And hopefully you find this video enjoyable and useful. As ever, if there are any comments or things you want to know, do leave me a comment or send me a message, and I'll speak to you all soon.